Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Well, somebody willing to stick their head in hospitality and let folks know we're getting started? Thank you. And if they want to join us, come join us. And if they don't, eat in silence. Sorry, that was the old school teacher in me, just like came right on up there. Let us begin with a bit of a center-in prayer. So I invite you to just take a deep breath and find that place in your heart, your soul, your spirit, your body that resonates with gratitude. And affirm silently to yourself, I am grateful. I am grateful. I'm grateful for the spiritual community that invites me and holds me to a higher spiritual standard. I'm grateful for the part that I play in it. I'm grateful for all those who have led and served, and for all those who lead and serve now. I am grateful for all those who have yet to lead and serve. It is from gratitude that we see all that we are. We see the blessings that we are, that the universe has provided for us. It is in gratitude that we begin to love each other fully, love ourselves, love this community. So I invite you to say it out loud, I am grateful. Together, I am grateful. Let's say it again. I am grateful. And so it is, and so let it be. Welcome to annual meeting for 2020. We are going to reflect back on 2019, share with you some information, take questions and answers. My goal is for us to be done latest 1 p.m. You know my philosophy. If a meeting is going to last more than an hour, we need 2 meetings. And we're only doing this once today, okay? So as we share and we give the opportunity for questions and stuff like that, please be very mindful of, is what I'm asking been asked and answered in some way before? Is it a question that I need to have answered now in front of everyone, or is this something that I need to talk to Reverend Ogun or Tina or a board member privately? Just be mindful of the time and your questions. This is not me saying don't ask them. I'm just saying be mindful. We're going to start with the thing I think most of us may be having on our mind, which is a report from Spirit on the River. Spirit on the River is the board, the team that manages our property, like the rental properties, and are managing where we are in terms of the sale of property. So we are going to start with them. Where is Christian? Oh, I was like, why are you hiding under the plants, man?
And before we do start with them, I just want to say we need to thank these guys. We don't thank them on a regular basis, but we should make them stand up every week too.
Yes.
Because they have really flipped that whole business around and have done hours and hours of work. And so if Tom and Malik will also stand up so we can shed our gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Terry Norian is not here. She's part of that team. She may be watching live on thing. Hi, Terry. Thank you, Terry. So take it away, Christian.
Hi, everybody. Good. Is the PowerPoint up?
Oh, I get it.
Oh, I have it. I can do it.
You can do it? All right, there you go. That button right there.
All righty.
Should be advancing the slides. Where are we at? Oh, it's off. Let's try again. Yeah, I'm gonna go back there. It should be, yeah, maybe, you know what, hang on. It's probably just not synced with the thing yet.
You know any jokes? Click on there.
Yeah, just start talking. We'll catch up.
Click on there.
So I'm going to start with the mission of Spirit on the River.
Please hold the mic up to your mouth.
There we go.
There we go. Sure. So I'm going to start with the mission of Spirit on the River, which took a little bit of time to clarify exactly. Okay, perfect. Yep. There we go. So this is the mission here. At Spirit, we take a heart-centered approach to property management. We work in harmony with all the tenants leasing the units from us. Each tenant is an integral part of the progression and growth of the community as a whole. SOTR is attentive, action-oriented, and financially abundant. So Terry, unable to be here today, I'm going to present the President's report on her behalf. So the property listing is underway and in progress as we speak. We've actually improved our system. You messing with me back there? We've improved our systems in regards to communication and care of the tenants. We respond in time to unexpected property emergencies, such as what we've experienced in the last few months, pipe breaks, parking lot ice, etc. These are things that weren't as big of an issue prior to, because there weren't as many people coming in and out of the parking lot and walking. Now people are coming into our tenants' businesses in the area, and we need to make sure that everything is taken care of around those spaces. And we actually have streamlined the rent payment process with the tenants as well. And abundance mindset has shifted our responses, expectations, and strategies as we continue to manage the property, finances, and be exceptional landlords. This was difficult at first with the lack of budget and wanting to reply to tenants quickly, but not having a qualified list of contractors to get out there and do this work. We appreciate all the volunteer efforts, especially Jim. I want to give you a big thumbs up for helping us out with many things. Thank you. There are some things that we do need to be mindful of now that people are paying rent, they're under contract with us. We need to make sure for certain issues we send in licensed and insured contractors to do the work in case something did happen. We're covered and they're covered. So that's Terry's report as of this point. Here's the financials, which, although if you look at the bottom line, what I did was a 6-month snapshot, because this is changing quickly as time goes on. As we rent units out, as we bring money in, and as we encounter certain expenses and building issues, we have gone from a monthly average, if you look at the bottom line, of $229 loss between July and December, and it was about $900 a month loss the last time I presented these figures. So we have gone $700 positively towards getting to break even. What I do want to mention at this point in time is, if you guys are wondering, I want to try to proactively answer questions that might be coming up as I'm chatting here. One of the things that you may wonder is, why are we still negative if we've rented out, 2 out of the 3 remaining spots that are available? There's a few reasons for that. Number one, when you rent spaces out that haven't been rented in a while, things pop up. Systems start working again. Things need to be fixed, replaced, maintained, so on and so forth. The other piece of the puzzle is unity in general. The point of Spirit when it was formed was to be able to tithe whatever profit and income was left at the end of the year over to Unity. So that way Unity could take advantage of being a landlord without actually being the landlord, without all the responsibilities of that. And being a nonprofit church, nonprofit charity, they can't receive direct rental income from property. So that was the point of Spirit, was to tie that money over. What has happened, the amount of square footage the church takes up, the rent should be somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 per month that the church should be paying for the space. It's paying about $1,600 a month right now. And if that was increased to just half of what they should be paying, we would see that bottom line be in a profit zone. But the point of Spirit is to support Unity, and that's what they're doing by allowing that lower rent. So if we could possibly, if the budget is there coming up, if the rent could increase slightly from Unity over to Spirit, that would get us into positive territory, in addition to renting out the last space that we have available. So that's just kind of a quick answer to why are we still negative, because there's more potential to bring more money in, which will push us into positivity. So the next piece, thank you, is the realtor team that we've hired to work with us and market the property. Rich Vincent is the main president of the team, and his team has been working on marketing and listings since November. And what I would like everybody to understand, which took me a little while to get this concept as well, is the type of buyer that we're attracting to this type of property is not just around clicking on MLS. They're not out looking at LoopNet, where most commercial properties are listed. This type of property, according to our realtor, has a better chance of being sold off-market, meaning that investors that are sitting on the sidelines with a couple $1 million waiting to make a purchase are waiting for their realtor to call them and say, I got something coming up, come take a peek at it, let's get you in and take a look. That's the reason why there hasn't been a rush to get the property listed online. And I just don't want people to mistake the fact that because it's not officially online, that it's not listed and being marketed. If there are no strong leads with the off-market strategy that I was just mentioning, the property will be online by April. That is what the realtor chatted with us about this week. They've already taken drone photos of up above. They believe that to be an effective marketing tool. The reason that they haven't taken the interior photos yet is because the realtor strongly believes that the property will be taken down and completely rebuilt. So the interior is not as much of a concern for somebody with that type of motivation to purchase it. The strategy right now is to reach out to known investors that they know that have been buying commercial real estate and to tap their current buyer pool, which what they mean by that is somebody who's shown interest in other commercial properties that they have listed, but it hasn't worked for them, they're reaching out to them directly as well. And to receive leads throughout our community, and according to Terry, there has been a handful of people that have come forward so far. I had one person approach me to get some information. The other thing that takes time and requires some due diligence and some digging around by the realtor is they're trying to work on identifying all the zoning potentials for this property. They need to get the city master plan, what the allowed usage is for this spot. Can somebody build, say, a boutique hotel here? Can somebody build another retail space? And what the allowed usage would be with special permitting as well. So when somebody approaches our agent and says, yes, I'm interested in this decent-sized property, what can I do with it? They have the majority of those answers ready for that investor to come in and really look at the property, knowing what their potentials are here. And in the bigger picture, the realtor is going to be chatting with the owners of the other 3 units at the end of the property to see if they're interested in selling, hopefully around the same time that we actually hit online as well. So the best case scenario is to sell the entire building. It's definitely a mixed use area, and we believe that apartments or a boutique hotel could go into this spot. And he's also screening some of the people that he knows that are investors that are interested in building something of that nature. And the type of buyer looking at this type of property wants to see the positioning of the building, which the drone aerial shots will accomplish, distant from highways, the street traffic patterns, and the towns nearby, and the revenue that they generate. What is the per capita income? Is it a tourist type area being so close to Newburyport? Can you put up a hotel but not charge Newburyport prices? You have a question?
I was just going to add onto that list setback from the river, because that was a concern when we worked on the garden out there.
Okay. I'm going to make a note of that. I know that's a lot of information. I know I talk a little bit quickly, but what type of questions do you guys have? And what are the concerns at this point in time? This one. You go.
Yeah, my question is, do we have a sense of how long we have to sell the property without being in serious financial trouble?
It's a lot longer than it was last time we spoke. I'm actually, when I write out the bills and I pay things on the property, I'm more comfortable doing that now, knowing the less and less amount of negative that I look at. It's challenging to be in a mindset of abundance and prosperity when you're trying to figure out who to pay when. There's less of that balancing act and less of Peter to pay Paul going on than there was just 6 months ago due to the influx of the new tenants that are coming in. I feel like we shifted into this abundance prosperity and we're attracting the type of tenants that are allowing us to achieve that at this point in time. So right now, I think we could comfortably go on maybe another 9 to 12 months and at that point revisit, but we're not in jeopardy of losing the property and we're not in jeopardy of bankruptcy or anything of that nature, okay? And it feels good.
So do the tenants know that we're going to sell the property?
Yes, they do, yes. And we're in their lease. You never know what the new owner's going to do. I'll start with that little caveat. However, within their lease, it does say that the new owner is going to honor whatever the terms of the lease are. How that would work with a tear-down, I don't know. That's something somebody else needs to deal with at that point. But we've put whatever we could in to try to protect the new tenants as much as we could.
So given that one scenario is it sells fairly quickly and it's a tear-down situation, should we be looking for property where we move to at this stage, or what's our plan to have that happen at the same time?
That's something that we haven't gotten into yet. We haven't explored if it sells quickly, what do we do? It's usually a 3 to 4 month process from going under agreement to back and forth with lawyers and contracts or whatnot before the sale actually takes place on a building of this size. So we would have a 3 to 4 month time frame to find suitable housing for us as a congregation while the sale takes place. And there's always the potential of a few months of staying here with whoever the new owner is, because they're probably not going to start construction or whatever they're going to do immediately. It's going to take some time, and we could potentially negotiate a lower lease payment than what they'd probably be looking for at that point for the square footage. But no definite answer to your question at this point.
Let's just take one or two more in regards to Spirit, because we have other stuff to cover.
What's the longest length of time that we have on the leases? And with the idea that a buyer might come in with cash and wants to knock everything down. I understand that the lease has caveats, but
Yes.
if we have a 5-year lease, is that going to interfere with someone wanting to come in now to buy the place? And did I understand you right in saying that the other owner is not on board yet or has not been approached? I guess I didn't understand what you were saying.
Not been
about that.
approached yet by the realtor?
Has not been approached.
No. No. And to answer the other question, the leases that we have been writing have been 5-year leases. Just in case we have to hold on for longer. And how that is affected by a new owner, I don't know for sure 100% what could happen when a new owner takes over.
Okay. All right, last Spirit question. If you have more Spirit questions, let's hold them, and if we get to the end and we got a little surplus of time, we can return.
If we're getting new potential tenants, is it worthwhile, and you're looking at perhaps a 5-year window, is it worthwhile to look at refinancing? I have no idea, I'm just asking.
A refinance, so to comment on that, the actual possibility of a refinance is not there. at a negative $200 a month cash flow. So we are in a similar rate environment to where we were when this particular mortgage was put in place, but it's not worth the investigation unless we had enough cash flow to qualify for that mortgage.
One more time, thank you, Christian. And
Thank you. Thank you.
Tom, Malik, Terry, Spirit on the River team. If you have more questions specifically around Spirit and the property and all that, he's your guy, or talk to Tom, talk to Malik. They will take your specific questions, concerns, queries, and get back to you. So thank you very much. Let's shift over to the church itself now, Unity on the River, and Stan, who's our treasurer, will come share some info.
Okay, I'll take this one. Thank you, Ogun. If you don't mind advancing. Basically, this is a trend line for the last 6 years. I wanted people to understand we are in a trend, and it's not a happy trend. We are, dealing with reduced attendance. Number one, it's not it's not that we can blame a certain person or a certain approach, but we are, there are not as many of us here as there used to be. And, Dr. Gary Simmons, who has been working with the board, has told us that this is basically a trend across the world for Unity churches, for churches in general. So I wanted to give you an idea of what that looks like financially, because we have had to cut back and we've had to deal with reduced finances simply because of the trend we're in. And so we really hope that it will level off very soon and then maybe go back up again at some point. But only the future will tell us that. And an abundance, prosperity, consciousness will help us get there. So that's what we've been dealing with for the last few years. But I'm happy to say, if we go on to the next slide, please. This is our current situation. I know it's a little bit of an eye chart, but basically there are 3 bars for each of these accounts. And one is for the end of last year, and one is for mid-year, and one is for the end of 2019. So we've got the end of 2018, the mid-year of 2019, and the end of 2019. So we are in basically a somewhat better position than we were last year at this time. And thanks to the generosity of some individuals around Christmas time, we do have a positive balance at the end of the year. We couldn't say that in November or October with much confidence, but thanks to the generosity of some individuals, we did make it at the end of the year. So some of those funds in the middle that are very low, those are reserve funds that we've had to dig into over the last couple years. But on the other hand, at the top, we see our stock holdings. Again, another generous donor donated some stock to the church, and we've taken that investment and hopefully invested it wisely, and so far so good. So we have that as something to draw on if necessary. And basically that's basically it. We've had very tight finances, but we've been reducing expenses. We've tried to be very realistic about forecasting for next year, and we have budgeted accordingly. Yes?
I can't tell which is which from the Requiem legend.
Yeah.
It's really hard to...
Yeah, I'm sorry about the color scheme. The light green shade is the most recent
So
year.
in each section, the top one is the most recent.
Right.
The middle one is mid-year, and the bottom one for each section is this time last year. And so to continue on that, I want to share the budget that we're proposing, or give you a snapshot of the budget we're proposing for this year, and then we'll take financial questions in general. So this is a summary of where we're at. If you read from left to right, this is a snapshot, broad snapshot of expenses, income and expenses. 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, those are actual numbers of what we spent and what we brought in. The very last column on the right, 2020, we started assuming that we would like to assume and hold in consciousness that we will bring in this year in terms of income what we brought in last year, and to use that as a starting point. The interesting thing with church budgets is that we never know what's coming in. We're not selling a product. We don't have an actionable customer base, so we know that we're going to sell X amount to X people. That's not who we are. We're a nonprofit. So we're relying like 100% on donations, tithes, offerings, donations, whatever people want to give. So there's no way to know where that's going to go from year to year. So where do you start? So we started with, even though we're having a down, the average trend of church incomes across the board in all churches, in all denominations, decreased attendance, decreased income, where do we start? Where do we start that is realistic, but also where do we start that kind of helps, that keeps us in alignment with our abundance principles? So we started with, let's go with what we made last year. So that's why we have that budget income number, right about 280,000. We rounded up from 279. And the other categories in expenses is how we plan to spend that money. We ended with a little bit of a cushion, just shy of 10 grand. And as we did last year, based on how the income flows, we just take a look at it quarterly, and based on how the income goes, we will make adjustments. We ended last year positively because we made adjustments, and then, as Stan said, we had some big donations come in at the end of last year. That's why we were able to end the year positively. So that's what we come up with. Now, if you want to take a much more detailed look at every single category and every single expense, all the reports are online on our website, and I only printed out a few for you if you want to peruse now. If you know that you do not have internet access at home and you want to take one of these, go ahead. I say this every year. Previous years, we would print out everything and make piles of prints, and most of them just got left here. So we want to save some trees. One of the costs that we always have to reduce is copy overages. You know, like offices, we have a contract with a copier and with a copier company for an X amount of copies, and we pay for what we go over. So we're not going to print out copies of every report for everyone in the congregation. It's all online. You can see it there. And feel free to come back to us with questions if you have them. I don't want you to go read and go, oh, well, the budget's already set, this is the thing, and we can't make changes, and how could they make this choice about this thing? No, if you have any questions or concerns, please come talk to us, come see us if you want to have a deeper dive into the numbers. Any general question around the financial picture that you want to have? Susan's got one. We're bringing the mic. Oh, by the way, we are live streaming this, and it will be archived on YouTube, so if you ever want to revisit, or somebody who wasn't here say, I wish I was there to know what was going on, tell them go to YouTube, our YouTube channel. Yes?
I have a couple of line item questions.
Sure.
Is it appropriate to ask them?
Yes. I can't guarantee we can get you an answer now, but it's always okay to ask, I think. Yes?
All right. It's hard to shuffle papers. Okay, under the bookstore income, line item 5025, it says artist commissions, and there's been none for this current year. I'm wondering why that is. We've had many art exhibits, and no artist has offered a donation on their sales. Is that what that means?
That is not accurate, because yes, we do pay artists commission. I'm not exactly sure why that says 0.
Okay.
But hang on, let me, it's not so much the income, because when artists sell stuff in the bookstore, yes, depending on the arrangement they make, we do get a portion of those sales. It's also quite possible, as you know, towards the end of the year, we did not have an operations director, and there were a few things that fell through the cracks as a result of that. And that, in terms of bookstore, like inventory numbers, all that, that was one of the things that may have fallen through the cracks. But we can definitely look at that and see.
Then related to that, up higher, it says art show tithe, and for this year it was $21. What you just explained may apply here, but I know in November and December we sold wreaths, and I know that exceeded $21.
One of the interesting things that we continue to discover is when we have line items in our profit and loss and line items in this, it doesn't always necessarily correlate to what happens out there. So what I'm saying is, yes, we sold all those things. I don't know if the money from those got entered under art show or if they got entered under some other line item. So one of the things that we've been doing over the years is trying to figure out what do these line items that might have been in here for like years, what do they really mean? Is it going in the right place? Can we eliminate it? Or do we need to add a new one?
I think that's all. Let me just quickly look again. That's it?
Okay, thank you. Peter has a question?
Yeah. Similarly, I have one line item I just wanted clarification on.
Sure, we'll do our best.
Under, let me find it again. There we go. Under community support expenses, is the consultant expense of $6,400 primarily our payment to Reverend Simmons?
It is entirely our payment to
Okay.
Reverend Simmons. Do y'all know what he's talking about? So we're working with the church consultant, Reverend Gary Simmons, who's been here, taught the Q Process workshop. We are working with him. It's a multi-year agreement. So we're working with him because, again, one of the reasons why churches are seeing decreases in attendance and income is because basically the model of how church works has not changed for a few hundred years. It's not been updated, it's not been adapted. And given how we as human beings are changing in time with technology and things, it needs an upgrade. So Gary Simmons has done a lot of research and study on this. He's worked with Ken Wilber, if you know who Ken Wilber is. He's one of our premier spiritual futurists. And anyways, long story short, Gary has come up with this model of showing churches how we might adapt for the future that we're already in. So yes, that's going to cost us to work with him. And what we get in return is ideas for programs to implement. For example, the Spirit Groups program that we're implementing to keep people connected and so on. That's one program that came out of that. It involves him doing board training, monthly or every other month board calls with the board president and myself to make sure that we are always above the line. Remember, we talked about conscious commitments. In fact, that book and working with that book was one of his recommendations as well. And then there's also every other week training call with me. How can we get me to be an always evolving, better minister? So that's what we're paying for. Any other questions? Yeah, wait for the mic so that folks on live stream and the recording can hear.
So one of the things that you've discussed that makes planning hard is you don't know what kind of donations are going to come in.
Correct.
And it popped into my head that we used to do pledges through the Catholic Church.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's an idea that, the community here would like to be able to say, hey, this is my community and I'm going to support it, and I'm willing to say, I'm going to make a weekly donation. This way, you guys know what kind of base you actually have to work with. Is that something that?
So funny you should mention that. Funny you should mention that, and no, I did not plant her. So we're not going to do pledges in the traditional way because the truth of the matter is it's no different. People make pledges all the time. Churches do capital campaigns, and people promise, here's what I'm going to give, and it doesn't always happen. Like, there are many uni churches who did capital campaigns, so raise funds to add a wing or build a new sanctuary, and people in the enthusiasm of the sell of the capital campaign pledge, and then don't follow through with all the pledge, whether they've moved on from the community, or their life circumstances changed, or somewhere along the line they realize, yeah, I don't agree with this anymore. So it sort of is no different. What we're trying to do, however, is make giving easier, and also to change our language. And if you've noticed in the last year or so, I've intentionally changed a lot of the language I use around money and start to say, invest in your spiritual community. The truth of the matter is, the only way this place is going to be here every Sunday is by what you give. So you have to consider it an investment. So for example, you may have noticed I shed a few pounds. Okay, thank you. But in order to do that, I had to invest. 1, gym membership, that costs. 2, better food. Apparently healthier food costs more, which is part of the obesity problem in this country, right? So, and I had to invest in terms of mindful commitment to this journey. So like today, after hospitality, I walked out, and my favorite foods were there, all carbs and sugar. Okay? Yeah. Now, I've not eliminated carbs and sugar from my diet because I don't have that kind of willpower, but I'm more mindful about when and how much carbs and sugar I eat. So there's investment, and the investment pays off in results. So no different. If you want this place to stay here, if you want us to do more, have more, higher caliber guest speakers, if you want us to be able to pay these musicians more to do more, because we drastically underpay these musicians for what they're worth. Our office is currently open 3 days in the week. It's barely enough time to get the things we need to get done. We used to be open 4 days a week, but we haven't been able to afford that because we have to pay our staff. So if you want more of this stuff to happen, I'm inviting you to consider investing more in your spiritual community to see the results. And we're trying to give you easier ways to do that. You can, donate online. You can set up automatic transfers from your bank account that happen every week, every month, whatever. The text to give is ridiculously quick. So great example today. I'm throwing you under the bus. Time for offering came around, and I have an automatic donation thing set up, but every once in a while, I like to throw in a few bucks, okay? So Rhonda was sitting next to me, and she pulls up the church's unityontheriver.org donate page, where you can enter your credit card information and make a donation that way. It basically took her the whole length of the I got everything I need to be happy song to do that, okay? That takes time, and people have said it takes a lot of time to go to the page and enter that information. We understand that. The text to give, I whipped up my phone. I have that number that we advertise, a text to give number. I have it saved in my contacts. I pulled it up, I typed in the number $25, boom, I was done. That's all. Now, hang on. So, hold on. Yes, again, that's in addition to the normal, my automatic giving that I give. Thank you very much. That's on top. It's on top. Hey, if y'all want me to give more, y'all gotta pay me more. And the only way you can pay me more is if you give more. So the more you give, the more I give. You see how that works? Okay, all right. So yes, but when you start that process, there is all of a 5-minute setup that you do. Once you do that setup, you just got to do it once. And every time after that, you pull out your phone and type a number. That's right, boom, it's done. No, you text the word give to that number. It's in your bulletins. We got it online. You text the word give, and it will send you instructions. If you are the tech savvy people and you've already got Google Pay or Apple Pay set up on your phone, you can connect it through that as well. So we're trying to make it easier for you to give, so it's not an obstacle. Please consider setting up automatic donations. Why? Because if we just rely on when you show up to give, we're not going to make it. You guys have got to also give. You guys, we all have got to give when we are not physically here in the building. So that when you go on vacation and when you take your extended trips, you know because you're still investing while you're gone, the place is going to be here when you get back. Okay? That sounds a bit of an exaggeration, but kind of not really. Okay? If you keep wanting this place to be here when you show up, whether you show up once a month, once every 6 months, whether you show up every week, it's all our responsibility, our financial responsibility, as well as our consciousness responsibility to do that. All right. Any questions? Malik wants to add.
Remind you that we break down the total amount that everybody should be giving.
Okay.
You're going to bring that up?
Yeah, but I forgot what that figure was. So
65.
So on average, so when you, oh, that's right. When you talk about the pledging thing, so when we do the math, if we average what we expect to bring in, $280,000, what we'd like to bring in, divided by the number of congregants that we have on average who show up on a Sunday, if every one of you gave $65 every week, we'd be fine. Now, I know that's beyond some of your financial capabilities, and I know for some of you, it's not. So then the question is, okay, how much of that 65, if on average $65 a week from each of us is what's going to take, how much of that 65, how close can I commit to giving? Okay, for some of you, it might be $25. All right, I can spare $25 every week to invest in my spiritual community, regardless of if I actually show up to church, regardless of how good or how horrible the minister's talk was, regardless of how the music flowed or didn't flow that day, regardless. It's not about emotional giving. It's about making a conscious financial commitment to ensure that your spiritual community remains and exists. That's what it's about. This place is more important and bigger than any one of us individually, especially myself. It's about what we all put into it. So if you've not considered setting up an automatic way to give, please consider setting it up and doing it. And if you're one of these people who like to say, I like the energy and feeling when I give on Sunday, great. Set up 2/3 of what you usually give automatically and save the third for when you're here and you can give it in person. You can split it up that way as well. It doesn't have to be either or, it can be both and. Question?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I'm sitting here online,
Okay.
reading the budget, and just looking at the 5-year plan, I was just trying to figure this out. Line items, can't see it too good. 7005 says ministers 403B and health insurance, which comes up for 2020 is like $9,000, which wasn't there before. Is it hiding somewhere else in the 5-year plan?
So not a 5-year plan, but actual, and yes. So remember I talked, I said when Susan asked me a question, sometimes some of these line items have been in there for years and we put numbers in different places. One of the things we did this year was kind of clean that up. Also last year, one of the things we did was, as part of our reducing costs, was to take away some of my compensation in terms of different things. So as a full-time employee, yes, part of the agreement that we made is that the church does cover a portion of my health insurance. I still pay some out of pocket as well. There were also other things like covering the cost to go to Unity conferences and stuff like that. That was taken away last year. And I shouldn't say taken away, it was we chose not to spend the money on that because we had to make budget cuts. So what we've done is we've re-added them. Now, again, we look and see how the year goes. And if June rolls around when it's time for me to go to conference, oh, by the way, no, I'll tell you later. When it comes for that time to roll around again, if the income isn't there to support it, then it's not going to happen. The board's been very good and getting much better at saying, we don't have the money for this, we're not going to do it. End of story. And I don't know if that answers your question.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've had health
Okay.
insurance the whole time.
All right, so let's, yes, so we can break that down. I'll gladly break that down with you later and look at it. No, but trust me, when the finance team was sitting down creating this, like a lot of those questions came up too, like, we didn't pay for this or that? Yes, we did, but it was in this area, at this line item. Well, why is it there? Because that's where it got put. Why isn't it here? So that's part of our journey to help clean up some of that. But there isn't any money that's unaccounted for in terms of expenditure. It's in there somewhere. Catherine has a question. And then after Catherine's question, we'll move on to some other reports. And hang on. We'll move on to some other reports. We're going to wrap up at 1. And I'm sure some board members who am now volunteering will be here for a few more minutes afterwards if you have questions that didn't get answered. Yes?
Yeah, quick question, I hope. What is community support, and why does it seem to fluctuate so much?
All right, so some of the things that fall under community support, income or expenses? We're looking at expenses. Oh, expenses. So, for example, we put the Gary Simmons expense. We put under consultant. We put that under community support. Okay, that was not a thing we had before because we're new with him. Things like bank fees, things like events we've had over the year. Like, for example, we'd bring in. A couple years ago, we brought in Linda Martella-Whitsett to work with and train some of our prayer chaplains. That was an expense. That was a one-time. So if you look at the detailed breakdown of the spreadsheet, you see there's a number of different categories that don't get hit every year, but that's why that kind of fluctuates. On the income side of it, community support, things like fundraising, like the gala, things that we bring in, and that varies from year to year too. On the income side, we don't make the same income at the gala every year. That's fluctuated as well. All right. If you have any more finance questions, hold them, and we'll be around to do them. One of the things that we have to do today is elect new member to our board. Our board, according to our bylaws, currently consists of minimum of 9 individuals. This year we have one person who is rolling off the board. She's currently not at the meeting, Lisa Palonzi. So first I want to thank Lisa for serving on her full term on the board. You'll watch later, thank you. Lisa is rolling off. Even before she was rolling off, we had a former board member who was chomping at the bit to rejoin us. Our bylaws state that the board term is 3 years. An individual can serve 2 consecutive terms, and then they got to take a break for a year, kind of like to reset. Plus, it also ensures that it's not the same people on the board year after year after year after year after year. So this individual was chomping at the bit to get back on the board, and that is Mark Schneider. So he's here. Mark, stand, say hi to the folks. We had opened it up to the congregation if there was anyone else who wanted to serve on the board. We had one other person who was interested in serving on the board, and the timeline to get her application in, get her interviewed with the nominating committee did not work out for her to join the board now. What we have said to her is, and she agrees, we will finish the process with her, get her interviewed with the committee and all that. We will go through the process with her in a manner that works time-wise for everyone, and therefore she'll be ready to roll in case in the course of the year somebody who's currently on the board needs to roll off because of life circumstances or whatever. Plus, we already know she's vetted, so the next time we have board elections, she could stand for elections. So I don't know if Mark wants to say anything. You want to share anything at all? You don't have to, but I'm just asking if you want to address the congregation. And if not, that's okay. Sorry to put you on the spot. Probably should have given you some heads up about that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, it's my honor to serve on the board, and I do welcome anyone coming to talk to me with questions or suggestions and that sort of thing. One of the things I found of being on the board was I was worried that I'd have to work. I don't. I just have to listen to you. So please do share, and I look forward to being back on there with you.
Thank you. So, Mark is a seasoned board veteran. So we are happy to have him back, but we kind of sort of have to make this official. So there's one person who is rolling off, one person who's ready to roll on. So you guys have to vote him in. So I hereby make a motion to propose that Mark Schneider be voted in as a member of our board. Do we have someone who's second? Is anyone taking notes, by the way? Thank you, Rena. By show of hands, all in favor of this? Any against? That's a no. Any abstain? I think you got to ask that too. All right. Congratulations, Mark Schneider. You are back on our board. So now Tina, our board president, and myself are going to come up and just give you guys a couple of things, and then we should be good to go. No, you get mine.
It's been a crazy year. Looking back at all the minutes and all of my journals from this year, I'm shocked at everything that we did. But I want to, first, before I get into all the things that we did, I want to thank our board, because they worked tirelessly. And these are people that own businesses, have jobs, that have to travel for jobs. But we've had a very heavy load to carry this year, and they've all done it with grace and joy and a love for this community. So thank you all very much. So this year started out with our 25th anniversary. I had to look back on the calendar. I think we both did, because it seemed like it was so long ago. But here to celebrate, whew, that was a big one. We reinvested stocks that are going well. We got the new Spirit board that is just kicking butt. We got our new mission and vision statement. We have a new director of operation, which I know she's going to kick butt, and she's going to get us right in order. We brought Miss Meg Rain as our director of the music team this year, so thank you. And the music is kicking butt too. We're all just kicking butt coming into 2020, right? We had our first LGBTQ service this year. That was huge. We started the Spirit groups, which are overflowing right now. So I hope I know that is going to help us to bring in more millennials, more people from the community that are interested in us and in our mission. We made $6,000 on the gala this year. And we didn't have as much of a turnout, but I always look at things as everything is happening just perfectly. Otherwise, it would happen different. So everything this year has happened so perfectly, or it would have happened differently. So that's basically what we've gone through this year.
And I would like us to show a big hand of appreciation for our board president, Tina.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here and to help lead with these wonderful people and you all as leaders of the community as well. So thank you.
Board committee.
You what?
The board committee.
What's he saying?
Committee?
Board committee? What?
Oh, so we need new people to bring on for the board committee.
The nominating
nomination
committee.
Yes, I had it right there. For next year, or for actually for like today.
So, just to be clear, the nominating committee, you are the team that will interview prospective board members to serve on the board. So, Susan is willing to go for another year. Is there anyone else who would like to serve on that team?
So we generally have 2 from the community, and then a board member and Ogun. 2 board members, and Malik is one of them. Did I see a hand back there?
So anyone,
Oh,
anyone
that's
else? This will require maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour of your time after church on maybe 2 or 3 Sundays a year, if that much.
Annie?
All right.
Thank
so
you.
so Annie, did you
And
want
Tom
to
for
go,
a
Tom?
backup?
Yeah, I don't think we have a thing for a minimum number. All
Okay.
right. So we got
Great, thank
Annie
you.
and Tom. What's your last name again, Tom? What? Tell her. There you go. All right. And Susan. All right. What's that?
Did you need another board member?
I don't think so. No.
That's to keep that.
All right.
Right.
If we do, we'll talk about it in the board ourselves. All right. Awesome. And I just want to also share a few more highlights that she didn't necessarily cover. As I mentioned last week or week before, I just finished 5 years as your senior minister, and that's been a blast. That's very cool. One of the things, so in terms of like a couple personal accomplishments, I was thrilled in November to be profiled in Science of Mind magazine, which is a magazine from the Centers for Spiritual Living. It used to be called Religious Science. They have a readership of almost 30,000 people on their mailing list. That was 30,000 people who now know about Unity on the River that didn't know about Unity on the River before. So it was sort of humbling and cool to do that. And this year, the thing I said I was going to tell you earlier, but I'm going to tell you now. So this year, in terms of the Unity Conference, I made a pitch to do a workshop at the Unity People's Convention. Every year, all the Unitics in the world descend on Kansas City, Unity Village, and we have our People's Convention every year in June. Anyone's invited. It's not just for ministers. It's really not for ministers. It's for everybody in Unity. I really want some of you to consider joining me there this year. So get online, search Unity Convention 2020, go to the website unity.org. You'll see information about it there. Come to Unity Village. That's Unity's headquarters in Kansas City. Beautiful grounds, beautiful space. Consider getting outside this Unity bubble into a bigger Unity bubble, if you will. I will be doing a workshop at that convention based on the grief book that I'm writing and my experience over the last 5 years. So I pitched that. They said, yeah, come on and do it. So I'm really honored to do that. And what's really fun about it is, as a presenter, I don't have to pay for conference registration, so I just saved y'all a bunch of money by doing that. Okay. We did make the decision last year overwhelmingly to, yes, sell this property. And that was huge for this community. It was a huge acceptance of who we are now, where we are now, and what we're able to take on. Some of you may not know all what happened when we first proposed this, but it was kind of a shock to a lot of folks. There were calls for my head on a platter. There was all sorts of responses and reactions to this. And over time, we came together. We listened to some of the great information and presentations by the Spirit Board, Christian and Tom and Malik. We really embraced, the truth of who we are, which is we are a community that does not want to devote a lot of energy to being commercial landlords anymore. And being commercial landlords, renting those properties, took up a lot of attention, a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy. And that's not who we want to be in this world. We're here to do spiritual work, not here to be landlords. And and I'm not saying that as a negative towards landlords. It's about who we say we're here to be. Okay? And I think you guys masterfully came to a place of accepting that and make the decision to move on from this place that has served the community well over the years. So I want to say thank you for coming to that place. So I'm going to give you a round of applause for that. So some other things that are happening new this year that we've already started, we mentioned the spirit groups. Wednesday nights, if you haven't heard, are no longer going to be prayer and meditation service. We've turned this into class night. Again, based on attendance and income that happened on Wednesday nights for that service over the years, we were losing money, and then there were some nights when like maybe just one person showed up. So it was clearly something that the community said in their actions that it's time to let that go. So we let it go. We've turned it into class night. We've got between myself and our 3 licensed Unity teachers, the goal is every Wednesday night, there'll be a Unity class being taught. And now you can either take the class here in person or do it remotely from home via Zoom video conferencing. So if you live a ways away, you don't have to worry about trekking over here. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. And that's already bearing fruits. Amy Jocelyn, our LUT in the back, she's currently teaching a class that has 12 people, and about half of them are coming through Zoom remotely. We got people from Unity in Worcester and different places who are Zooming in to take classes with us. So that's already becoming a success. So you got someone in Florida taking class, okay? So we were late getting to that, but we're here now. We mentioned the new operations director, Mary Jane. She's already whipping this place into shape. It's kind of scary, her level of organization and efficiency. So I know we will take it because we need it. And I think that's it. The one other thing that I got invited to do in November, so you know we do World Day of Prayer celebrations here, but Unity, the organization, Unity World Headquarters, Unity Worldwide Ministries, they do a big service as well at Unity Village that gets streamed to thousands of people all over the world. The head of Silent Unity, Linda Martella-Whitsitt, asked if I would be willing to come be one of the featured ministers in that as well. And I said yes, I'll be glad to do that and help tell some more people about Unity on the River and who we are and what we can do. So I'll be doing that in November. I think I'll wrap up by saying this. In one of my coaching sessions with Reverend Gary, he said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, it seems to be working because you're like one of the least frazzled, stressed out ministers that I work with. I said, well, I hide it well, but apart from that, I said, but in all seriousness, part of it is because of the level, one, I still love doing this work. In all the craziness of this year, there hasn't been one moment where I thought, I got to get out of here. There's not been one moment. And you all get a lot of credit for that. And this place gets a lot of credit. I talk with other ministers in the field. Trust me, I know how good I have it here. A lot of that also is because of the board. And this is not a board of yes people. They can tell you. Some churches have boards that are like yes people for the minister, and the minister makes sure that the board has yes people. These are not yes people, okay? They're laughing because they know it's true. But these are folks who are so spiritually conscious that it's not about conflict, yes or no. It's about what is the highest and best for this community, and how can we all get on the same page about that, okay? If you've ever worked on a church board, that is a gift beyond measure. And it's part of the reason that I still love this job and I still want to show up for it all the time. And other people out there in the world take notice and they invite me to do things, and I am thrilled that I can have the support to go and do that and know that these guys are not only just supporting me, but I don't have to worry about if I go anywhere, because they know they're going to keep things running, because they basically keep me running, okay? One of the emphasis of Gary Simmons' work is to shift the focus about this church being centered around the minister, and instead centered around everyone, the community. So, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to live my bliss. That's all we have for you today. Do you have a question?
10-second thing, and I want this on the record.
10-second thing, okay? All right?
The thing that I noticed has happened in the past year, that just happened recently, you redesigned the order of service.
Oh, yeah, you meant to mention that.
I
Sorry.
haven't remembered the last time we redesigned the order of service, and it's brought an energy. We saw it today, how many people were here. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, we did, Meg and I sat down together and redesigned the flow of the service. And it was intentional. Because before, they were singing, talking, that sort of, and we thought, how can we structure it so that when folks come in and, the energy is sort of like a bit all over the place, you're rolling in here 5 after 10 as you do, love you Unity people. Punctuality is a spiritual practice, I'm just telling you now. Show up at 10, please. Anyways, so, there's that, where am I gonna sit? You're rolling in, your energy's up here. You may have saw some headlines in the news this morning that kind of like freaked you out, whatever. So we start with some high energy music and then have a seamless transition to bring you down into meditative space. That's the goal. That's what we're working towards. We're still getting used to it. I grew up in the evangelical tradition, and I've said this before, where you're sang for like 30 to 45 minutes nonstop before anybody else said a word. I'm working slowly to get you all up there. You're not even gonna realize when you get there, trust me. But that's what it is. People actually said to me, oh my God, the service is so much shorter now. No, it's not the same amount of time, but because the way it's structured, it flows by and your attention is not as distracted. There's a smoother flow to get to meditation, and then talk, and then out. So thank you for reminding me, Jack, that happens. As always, we're open to feedback about things, but the response so far has been positive. Yes?
A quick question, and a quick thank you. I just want
Okay,
to say,
and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, then we'll wrap up. I love my job. I have a blast. I just wanted to say that, and I thank you all for this year. It's been wonderful for me. And but I also wondered about, do we have a committee that's just hovering around Newburyport, Amesbury, looking at spaces yet for us? When should and if?
So the short answer is no. The short answer is no, because as a board, we're not putting the cart before the horse, if that makes sense. Because even if we go today and find a space, there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, so we gotta divine order. We gotta put things in the correct order. Okay, and Christian spoke to you about that today. And also remember, we don't have to be in a rush to find the next place. We can do a temporary setup until we are clear about where the next space is going to be. So no thoughts, no worries. Let us close with a prayer of gratitude. I'll be here and the board will be here for just a few more minutes if you have more questions. And if you can lend a hand in hospitality to clean up. No, we gotta wrap up. No, no. Ask me after. If it's a question, ask. It what? Tell me about it afterwards, and maybe I'll make an announcement next week. Let's take a deep breath in. Let's all affirm the truth. I am grateful. I am abundant. We are grateful. We are abundant. We are unity on the river. And so it is, amen. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon. Again, all the documents and reports from different ministries are online. Please feel free to go through them with a fine-tooth comb. If you need a paper copy of the budget breakdown, we have a few here, but please check online. And my apologies for going 10 minutes over.